The program for the first part of the day is going to be a quick review of session logistics, and then I'm going to give ARC's view of asset performance management, and then we're going to have 3 speakers from the end user community talk about their experiences in their particular industries. And then we're going to take a break, and we're going to try this roundtable discussion again this afternoon. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of people at the break. We encourage you to come back this time. We'd like you to participate. I know that when I go to these types of conferences, I actually find that I get more out of it if I get to talk a little bit as opposed to just sitting and listening all the time. So we're trying to make this an interactive learning experience for everyone and would encourage you to come back. Share your experiences, ask questions to our presenters, as well as their sponsor suppliers. So I'm going to launch right into ARC's view of APM. So we all work for a boss at some point, whether it be a small family-owned company, a big corporation. You have to answer to somebody, whether it's your shareholders, your boss, anybody. So what's keeping the boss up at night these days? There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. We've talked about a lot of these all week, and we will continue to hear it. I'm sure you're experiencing in your plants. We are experiencing in our business as well. So managers are faced with a variety of issues on a day-to-day basis. When I first started out in this business, I went to a conference and I heard some plant managers say that the first thing he wanted to know in the morning was if anybody died that night, because he did not want to be responsible. He wanted to know that information. That's the first thing he wanted. I don't know if it happened regularly at his plant. I would question his processes if that were the case, and perhaps I wouldn't want to work there, but I think it goes to show that safety is one of the important issues that our employers are facing. One of the biggest issues that everyone is facing, every industry, is the shortage of skilled workers. And where are these replacements going to come from? We're not really sure. Hopefully, recently President Obama announced, at least in the United States, that he's going to let like 100,000 soldiers go. And so hopefully they will come into our workforce and we'll have an influx of skilled technical people to help us run our plants. Because we can't be competitive in manufacturing in any country and in the United States, because there's getting a lot of focus this week. We're talking about manufacturing renaissance, unless we have the people to operate the plants. So we have to get them back. So we have to take care of our most valuable asset. In most cases, it's the people. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, what ARC's view as asset lifecycle management is, and we see it as composed of these 3 basic components: project performance management, asset performance management, and asset and portfolio project management. The project in the upper left refers to new construction. So the EPC builds the plant, hands the information over to the owner-operator, who then is going to operate and maintain the plant. And that's where asset performance management comes in. However, if we need to modify the process in any way, or we're doing a modernization or something, that would fall under the bottom circle as APPM, but they're all related. So you need to take the lessons learned the first time in the asset performance management and make improvements if we're making any adjustments. The important thing to remember is that all of these processes are inextricably linked. What is asset performance management? I've heard that question over and over today. Okay, yay! We're in the right spot and everything. Okay, I think one of the difficulties in talking about discussing asset performance management these days is, what does it mean? It means different things to different people depending on what their experiences are. It is somewhat of a moving target due to the maturity level of the discipline right now. But we're going to put this definition out there. This is how we see it. And you can read it as well as I can, but I'm going to read it anyway, because I think it's important. Asset performance management solutions utilize analytics to optimize asset availability and utilization and balance operational constraints to improve financial performance. So in other words, APM solutions help operations and maintenance improve utilization and availability, but they do have their hands tied in some cases. But what we're trying to do is balance the two so that we contribute to improving the bottom line. Asset performance management solutions enable complex decision-making by getting the right information to the right people at the right time in the right context for them to perform their work. So a technician doesn't want the same information that the plant manager does. So that information has to be filtered and presented in a way to them that enables them to perform their work. The information should be real-time. It should be metric-based according to the goals and objectives of the enterprise. APM uses information to enable best practices and to accomplish critical needs to stay competitive. Going forward, I think one of the things, and we've heard it here this week as well as every place else, energy management is going to be a big issue, if not now, even more so in the future, just because of the cost. So manufacturers want to keep to their core focus of increasing uptime, extending equipment life, increasing operation efficiency, but keeping the environment and personnel safe, as well as keeping costs down. And energy is a big operating cost, depending on what your industry is. But some of these asset-intensive industries consume a lot of energy, the large expense in some cases. So another way to portray this is asset performance management synchronizes operations and maintenance with organizational goals. So again, we're looking to improve utilization and availability. We're using analytics and financial metrics in a meaningful way, whether it be OEE, whether it be dollars, but it needs to make some sense and it needs to have a common denominator. We have to, again, analyze information in the right context for the resolution of conflicting goals. Maintenance department may want something different than what the operations people want. CEO may want something else. So we need to resolve and figure out where are we going to get the best bang for our buck, and let's proceed that way. Critical issues and operational constraints can vary in vertical industries. And as we will see this afternoon, they can also vary within the same industry, depending on the particular product or operation that the enterprise is performing. Those could vary. However, some of the best practices would be the same regardless. Now, some people could take issue with this slide, what the key technologies of asset performance management are. This is what we see them to be. And they are in no particular order, but they're all important, and again, they're all inextricably linked. Because, again, the space is evolving. And hopefully some of these discussions that we have will help us get to where we want to be. So EAM is concentrating on maintenance planning and scheduling, workflow management. Mobility is definitely an enabler for field workforce processes and remote assets. PAM and condition monitoring are used to predict asset health. Reliability involving root cause analysis and resolution and strategy development. And at the top of all this, whether you like it or not, ERP is the business information system that's going to highlight the financial performance, inventory, procurement, finance, accounting, manufacturing, and so on. So all of these things have to work together so that it's truly a collaborative theory, if you will, of asset performance management. But the product of all of these technologies together is really what we've considered to be driving the maintenance strategy. One of the things that we will hear about this afternoon, I think, is the workforce considerations. We can't ignore the human assets in this equation, but they're kind of temperamental. Sometimes you need to give them a little kick. Sometimes you need to give them a little pat on the back, but you have to know exactly how to tweak them. So I found that a lot of engineers don't like to talk about culture. It's one of those touchy-feely things that you can't really quantify, but you can't ignore either. So I think what we need to do is walk the walk, talk the talk, lead by example, and get the buy-in. Because if you don't get it, you're not going to be successful. And that goes for any initiative that you're trying to implement, not just APM. Again, we talked about APM being a collaborative set of solutions. So they're all connected. Here we have another representation of some of the ones that we discussed and some others. But you have to connect it into, again, the common view. The information has to be easily accessed. The high level for business solutions such as ERP and MES can help provide this functionality. So we talk about vertical industries. We do think that basically the requirements are the same, but depending on the industry, it could be just a little bit different. So for example, even though we don't have an oil and gas person on our panel here today, for an example, they're very much concerned about environmental health, human and asset safety, energy consumption. That's what some of the critical issues and constraints are, in addition to the standard ones, if you will. Production is really concerned about optimizing performance and reducing operational costs. Maintenance is certainly concerned about their costs. And they're also concerned about where they're going to get their next generation of technicians from. In the power industry, it seems that the shortage of skilled workers in this industry seems to be much more acute than in others. I think like half of their workforce, at least in the United States, is over 50. They're going to retire pretty soon. What are we going to do? We're going to need new workers, have new skills, but we're also going to have to use technology to take up that slack. And we have a couple of speakers today from the mining industry. And I think even though we have two speakers from the same industry, it will highlight the fact that even though we consider them from the outside to be the same, their needs and mission are very different. So they have different requirements, different issues, different risks. And I hope what our speakers will demonstrate this afternoon, that the pain and effort of all of this work to improve our performance and implement these type of solutions is worth it. The benefits are too great to ignore. They improve workforce efficiency. We're more efficient in our procurement. We don't have so much money tied up in inventory because we're managing our inventory better. We have all of this data now to help us improve our maintenance strategy. We are managing the life cycle of our assets more efficiently. Plant operations generally improve. Consequently, business results improve. The bottom line improves. So I'm going to conclude and say that asset performance management is essential for the success of our plants today. We suggest that you take a holistic approach, find the right mix of technologies and solutions that meet your needs. Don't forget to measure and analyze the data in the right context, to the right people, at the right time. Invest in infrastructure that will enable asset performance management. Design reliability into your systems. Wireless is definitely an enabling technology. We can't ever ignore the corporate objectives. We need to get the buy-in from the workforce. We need to be collaborative. We need to, operations and maintenance can't be at odds with each other. They have to get along. The plant has to get along with the other plants and the sister plants, and sometimes all of this data visibility creates a little sibling rivalry, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's probably fair to say that most of us have siblings. We know what that's like. It increases the competition, makes us all a little better, hopefully. And if you're having a problem implementing these strategies or figuring out where to start, there are plenty of outside consultants. It's not a dirty word. They're supposed to be experts in their field. Consult with them. They may have some ideas that would help you. Take what you want, leave what you don't want, but I think they're useful. So that concludes my part.